There, now we're good, and you're sideways.
So you're trying to
Perfect.
figure out how to use this.
Hey, that's okay. You know, I think the Instagram world is pretty excited that you're on. I was just, I was just looking through some of the stats, and there's been a bunch of sticker taps in the last couple days for for you, probably because you've been very dormant in the world.
I had it years ago.
Yeah.
You know what the actual process, what happened was I had a bunch of social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I just asked myself one day, what's this adding to my life? And if I couldn't think of something positive, I got rid of it. And then as soon as Scott said, hey, I'm on Instagram, like, all this is going to have something positive. So
Yeah, you got to join the sitting on couches. Now you're going against the grain a little bit. I am in fact sitting on a couch. You appear to be sitting
well,
on
I'm
maybe a
sitting in
tree
a
stump.
chair on the porch. So
Nice. Well, that's awesome, man. So, how's your day been? What have you been up to today?
it's been good. It's been an adjustment. Obviously with this coronavirus going on, uh, adjusting workflows has been a big part of it. Uh, Trying to get some papers done and cleaned up. Lots of revisions from reviewers,
Hmm.
which is always fun. But yeah, no, it's just been more adjusting to this new norm. How you been
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah, it's been bizarre. Like between, getting on conference calls and trying to entertain the kids at home all day. Really, my wife does 98.5% of that, but I'll get in there and play some tabletop beer pong with Jackson to keep him busy for a couple hours.
How they've been adjusting to it? Like I know I was talking to Jared Shepard today, and his little guy Jake's been having issues with just not being able to socialize with kids.
Yeah, I mean, so it's funny that you mentioned that. Like Jackson, he gets it. Like he's 7, so he kind of gets the whole deal here. But Mariko, my daughter, she's 4, and she actually, like, not a ton of people know. Well, it's not a secret by any means, though. But she has a genetic condition called Williams syndrome, and one of the kind of colloquial terms for Williams syndrome is actually called they call it cocktail party syndrome, because people with Williams syndrome like love socialization and they can't get enough, essentially. So this thing for her is like hell. It's like the
Yeah,
worst possible thing for her because she thrives on having those social interactions with different people every day. Like she loves going to school. She's in pre-primary here, and it's mainly because she just wants to see somebody different, talk to somebody different. When she's around here,
are you
you
saying
know.
you bore her?
What?
You bore her?
Apparently, yeah. She needs those extra people to keep her happy and keep her interested in life. So anyway, it's been kind of fun. We got Jackson and her actually played some beer pong today, uh, not with beer, obviously. And she got one in, and she had the best happy dance I've ever seen anybody do when she drained one of those ping pong balls into the red Solo cup of water. So that
Yeah,
was cool.
that's awesome. So I
Yeah.
gotta ask. There's like hearts popping along the side. Like what are those? Is this also used as a dating app?
No, somebody's liking the video. It's probably Jer because we told him last night that was part of how it works is that you have to like it as many times as possible, and if you do, then you're doing it right.
So we haven't put him to sleep yet. Oh, there he is. He popped
Yeah,
up. His
yeah.
name.
Here we can wave at him. Yeah, exactly. Rob from Down Under is has joined us as well. He interned with me a couple summers ago. He was awesome, and now he's back in Australia. So anyway, got some fun visitors here today.
Sweet.
Um, yeah. So usually, one of the first questions that I ask is what's in your hand, and now going into your gullet.
Well, considering I was talking with you, I figured I'd get something from your neck of the woods.
You got a moose head going,
Moosehead.
hey?
It's a classy beer for a classy gentleman.
Yeah.
Uh, I try. So yeah,
Nice.
it's
Really good.
it's funny. I've been trying to wean myself off the beer with being stuck at home so much now. So I've
Yeah.
been drinking more coffee, more tea, that sort of stuff. Because it's so easy when it's just sitting there in the fridge. It's like, oh, I could pop it open. Nope, got to shut this.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny too because you're my first West Coast guest the last couple nights. Guys have been well. Corey's actually kind of a West Coaster too now that he's in Arizona. But your time zone, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and it's literally 5 o'clock there, or at least
Five
it was.
o'clock, sunny. It's beautiful out. We actually had 2 days of rain, which the week before we didn't get any rain,
Hmm.
which I'm kind of glad for. I planted a bunch of seed out in my backyard, and nothing was growing. So hopefully things will start sprouting out now.
Yeah, nice.
Um, but yeah, no, it's sunny. It's beautiful here. I'm just sitting on the deck, got a fire going. Um, yeah, loving it.
Beauty. So I'll just do another local beer shout out for all the Nova Scotia beer fans. This is a Garrison beer. It's called Hop Trip, and it's a Southern Hemisphere IPA. So it's another one of the IPAs. So another night, another IPA.
So what separates the Southern Hemisphere IPA from like a West Coast or
No
East
idea.
Coast?
They're very similar in my like taste wise. This one would be a little bit less hazy, I guess.
Gotcha.
Like if to look at it anyway.
Yeah, like I know the West Coast, they're often quite hazy. A lot of citra
Hmm.
hops, mosaic hops.
Yeah, I mean this one. The first sentence of the description here is this IPA is fair dinkum. I'm not lying. I know this is gonna be backwards on your screen, but
That's awesome.
yeah. So that's kind of random. Okay, so this funny like this whole series of sitting on couches with strength coaches started. You and I were kind of talking, or you tweeted something at me, or shared a tweet with me. Somebody talking about I wish strength coaches um, would drop that kind of strength coach persona every once in a while and just be normal humans. Um,
Totally. Yeah. I
yeah,
think actually we were talking about this, and that literally came out probably an hour later. That
it
tweet.
was. Is that what it was? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And
because
it was like, man, we were actually just talking, like we were half joking about it when we were talking about
yeah,
it. But you're 100% right. Like, and that tweet was right. I'm not sure who posted it, but
not sure
we're
either.
always like full on S&C mode, like reading. Oh, it's what books are you reading? Uh, you know, Even if you look on Twitter right now, like that's something I use quite a bit. It's like everyone's talking about the PD they're doing right now.
Hmm.
Like it's like full on. It's like, hold up, I haven't had a chance to breathe in a while. I'm going to take half a day here and get caught up on housework and do stuff like that.
Yeah,
Uh, so it's been fascinating, watching how people are dealing with this. But I do think it's important because like there's more to what we do than work, and I think like let's be honest, I'm a little worried about what we're going through right now, what that means for job security. Like in sport, it's not the greatest at the best of times.
yeah,
Um, but if you don't have anything besides sport and our job, like that makes you who you are,
hmm
I think you're in trouble. Like especially right now, some people it's been taken away from them.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my whole family's in Calgary, and there's been a ton of layoffs there already. So people are definitely, and they weren't coming into this in great shape economically either, given the oil and gas situation and all that different stuff that's going on in Alberta. So now this is like crushing. So talking to my brother on the phone, he's got two kids, and it's not the fun, not the most fun conversation generally. He's not in a great headspace. So for yeah, 100%.
Holy, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Um,
yeah, it's just interesting. So
yeah.
I think I think that's a mistake I made like early on is like it was just work, work, work full time, like not taking holidays, and you got to have stuff outside of work. I think that's important.
Yeah.
The concept I've talked about now is like polarized working. You're either fully on or you're fully off.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Weird that it's a physiology. Well, I guess that's probably not necessarily a physiology term, but we relate
yeah,
it that way anyway.
kind of where I got the idea from. But like
Yeah.
too often like we're kind of half working, right? Like either you're fully in, like banging stuff out, or you're
Yeah.
fully off.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. It's
so like
funny. The last
go
couple
ahead.
days, my wife just a couple hours ago, she's like, "Man, it feels like you're working more than you normally do." And I'm like, "No, it's not. It's not that I'm working more. It's just that I'm working like I'm less focused when I am because Mariko's coming downstairs and bugging me, or Jackson's putting on a Halloween costume and scaring me um, while I'm trying to work. So there's a lot of like little interruptions, and that's where it seems like it's spread out, but it's really or sorry, it gets really spread out, and it seems like a lot, but it's just less um, focused.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the other thing too, I think it's important also to like try to keep your normal hours.
Mm,
That's something I've been trying to do is like, okay, well, I'm going to start at this time in the day. From here to here, it's going to be work. And then, okay, I'm going to switch off from this time to this time.
yeah.
Uh, it's funny because like I listen to a hunting podcast, and one of the guys actually, a week or two before this happened, he works from home. He's like a writer,
Yeah.
and he had this comment: "You're 20% less effective when you're working without pen." That like you gotta try to keep your own routines going. You gotta make sure you're getting up to work when you need to work, and try to stay in your routines as much as possible.
Yeah, no, that's totally important because I've caught myself like I'd had a lecture or I did a lecture today for my undergraduate course at Dalhousie that I teach, and I highly contemplated not putting pants on for that because no one was going to see me, right?
Just to say you did.
Just to say I did, and to be honest, I had shorts on, so they weren't really pants, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I was pantless.
That's
What
awesome.
is Dana stalking? Um, So, okay, I do have some questions sort of prepared to kind of keep us or to give us a little bit of structure, keep us on track a little bit.
Cool.
But first of all, I've talked a little bit about my family life. What's going on in your household?
Well, the big news is we got a girl on the way in August.
Ooh,
So it was
nice.
perfectly timed with the Olympics, and up until a week ago. And now
Yeah,
it's horribly timed with the Olympics, but that's a conversation for another day.
yeah, absolutely.
So that's probably the big thing. Yeah, I'm super excited about it. Like a little nervous, obviously, because it's something I'm not used to or not really prepared. Like I don't know if you can ever fully prepare for it. So
You definitely can't. I mean, that
yeah,
that, that was a piece of advice that was given to me actually by a snowboard coach that I used to work with, Mark Ballard, and he was kind of like, you're never going to be ready to get married, really. You're never going to be ready to have kids, really. It's just sort of, if once it's going down, you got to prepare for it and make sure that you have all your ducks in a row. But
yeah,
you're always going to have a reason why you're not
yeah,
ready, right?
yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah, no, I'm super excited. Like it's been kind of cool. Like we got our first images, like the 3D ones. Um, and it was super cool. Like you can see like the little hands, the little face and nose. Um, so yeah, like I'm super excited. It's like it's real. It's kicking in. Um, yeah, it's. I think it's definitely gonna be a life changer. I know Jared's probably a little bit sad that he's gonna miss out on his hunting partner next season a little bit. But on that note, the other thing I've been doing is I've been preparing my yard so I can hunt for my yard. So
really. So
that's why I was planting the seeds out back. So I got some food plots going. I've got a blind I'm setting up there. I can legally bow hunt in my yard. Um,
wow,
yeah, so
nice.
it should be good. Yeah, and there's no one around us either. So
Have
um,
you? Oh man, This is making me think of this YouTube video that. Have you ever watched Jim Rome? You know the podcast or the he's an American sports radio talk show host. Um,
yeah, I've
he
heard the
he
name. Yeah,
he used to host a show I think on TV called Rome is Burning, but he got booted from that, and then he's been on the radio for a long, long time.
yeah,
And anyway, he would have what's the guy's name? I think it's Steve Elkington, and he's an Australian golfer. But he talked about he told this story on the Jim Rome show, and Romey kept the soundbite forever. And he basically made it sound like he's sitting on his couch in his living room, and he's got his door cracked open just a little bit, and he sees a deer out in the yard, and he just fires an arrow into it,
yeah.
um, and yeah, shoots it from here. And he has the sound effects like zzz, got him. Anyway,
Well,
I thought that was a pretty
it's
funny
funny
story, and
because
I can picture you doing that.
exactly. It's gonna be something similar because I've got a number of game cams across the yard as well. So I know when they're coming in. And in fact, last night I was filling up some food out there for them, and I knew they were coming. And sure enough, I look up and there's one just paused there staring at me, and I'm like, okay, time for me to get out of their spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, question one, I guess. Um, and I don't even really know if I know the answer to this, even though we've been hanging out for a few years now. A little bit of like where your backstory, kind of where you're from, where you went to high school, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I grew up in Victoria.
Maybe I did.
Moved away when I was 18 to Saskatchewan to train for track and field. And originally it was a 6-month plan. Train the winter with some good training partners, come back to Victoria for the summer and compete out here. Ended up being out there 6 years. And 2 years into it, I was like, well, I'm still here. I might as well get back to school. So I did my undergrad in Saskatchewan, which was great. It was a track and field powerhouse at the time. And my plan originally was to coach track and field and be a high school teacher. So I came back to Victoria and I took an internship on with the Canadian Sports Institute. And, at some point I realized, okay, I'm spending a lot of money being a track and field coach because we volunteer a ton. And I'm making money being a strength and conditioning coach.
Mm-hmm.
And, getting a lot of the same enjoyment of it. And so I ended up, switching plans and becoming an S&C coach. And so then I did my master's at UVic, and that's where I'm doing my PhD right now. So yeah, it was unplanned, and I kind of just stumbled into it.
Yeah,
I had great mentors like, Tyler Goodall, Matt Barr, being two big ones. And, Jared's obviously with me now, and, being able to pick his brain whenever is, it's invaluable. So yeah, it's just, it's funny how things work out sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah, even with what's going on right now, like things, it may seem like the worst thing in the world right now, but, I think as humans, we're pretty adaptable and can adjust, and, it's going to be uncomfortable, I think, but, things will work out. Yeah, that's my thoughts, at least.
yeah. I mean, it's funny that you mentioned how you kind of stumbled into the S&C profession. I think that's been a theme this week with the guys that I've talked to so far. I mean, Ryan and Corey both sort
Yeah.
of just kind of became, stumbled onto either a practicum or like a high school classes. I think both of them talked about having a high school exercise science class, which definitely didn't exist in Northeast Calgary, where I grew up. But you know, there then just sort of going with it from there. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I mean, I definitely stumbled into it myself. I kind of was in my third year of university, and a girl that I was kind of hanging out with. She we were in a class, like a big third year class together, and
Yeah.
she was like, "Hey, I just signed up for this practicum with the Canadian Sport Center Calgary. You should come check it out with me." I was like, "All right, cool." So we went down into the oval and sat in Matt Jordan's office, and kind of went from there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way
Well,
that worked.
another thing too is like I don't think any of us had S&C on our radar because if you think back, like in the last 10 years, the number of jobs have probably doubled or even tripled. Um,
Yeah.
there weren't that many paid S&Cs in the country, and it's just kind of exploded over the last couple of years. Like I know when you think about like our department in Victoria, at one point there was three of us out there,
Yeah.
and now three in Victoria and one or two in Whistler, and now there's 15 or 16 staff. Like,
Just
it,
S&C.
yeah, it's just growing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it's been interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, you kind of touched on this a little bit before, but we talked about stumbling into this. When you were a kid, at whatever point, what did you think you were going to do when you grew up?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like, 'cause I can tell you this from like the time I was in junior high, I knew I was going to be like I thought I was going to be a track coach and a high school teacher. That was my plan, was to be a teacher.
right.
Before that, like I know there's pictures of me as a kid, like in the firefighting outfit, but I don't know if those were ever like serious thoughts. I'm sure lots of us thought we'd be professional athletes at one point. I love basketball. In elementary school, I used to
Nice.
dominate because fun fact about me, I've grown an inch or an inch and a half since grade 7. One of
So
the
you were
tallest
tall.
kids.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was like 5'8" in grade 7 and haven't grown since.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I'm vertically
That's
challenged, if you will. I think it's the
pretty
PC way
funny.
of saying it.
The BC, yeah, the PC way of saying it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, So I guess we'll go back into work type stuff a little bit. Kind of, for the people that are on here now that maybe don't know you or don't know much about what you're doing right now, where are you working right now and who are you working with?
Yeah, so I'm based out of Victoria. I'm an SLC coach. I heard it a little while ago called Adult Phys Ed. I forget who said that, but I like that. So I'm doing a lot of admin with the department. That's about half my job right now. As I said, quite a big department across 3 locations. Also working hands-on with diving, rowing as well. And diving, if anyone gets a chance to work with it, it's a great sport. I know Corey's on here, worked with diving at one point as well. It's, you get to work with some really great explosive athletes. Imagine gymnastics would be the same.
Hmm.
Anything you give them, they can do. It's amazing.
For
Um,
sure.
you talk about like general preparation and, laying that foundation, like gymnasts and divers, they have it. Any movement that you want, they can do.
Yeah.
So I can say I'm going to put my child in gymnastics, the recreational type.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good idea for sure.
Yeah.
That was the first sport, if you want to call it that, that we had the kids in when they were little too. And Bodie, the little guy now, he's 1, so he'll be in there pretty soon. But he's crazy, man. Like the other two weren't really climbers, and
Yeah.
you always hear about kids that are climbers, right? He'll climb up onto the counter or to the island or to a table or just like up onto a stool and then stand there and like just start yelling at you. So we're gonna see how he turns out. If he's right now he's got a big gash on his chin and a scrape on his forehead because he just started walking like
You're
two
going to have to
weeks
chop
ago.
down your trees because you'll be up in the top of those in no time.
Oh yeah, he will be for sure. What's your I kind of heard a little bit about what you do and who you do it with. What's your favorite part of this job?
Oh, I'd say, the favorite part of the job is working with athletes that, either are on their way outs or are about to get cut, possibly.
Oh yeah,
Like I love those situations because you're trying to turn over rocks to figure out, what's the key to keep them on the team or keep them engaged with the sport. I like injuries and return athletes to play. I like problems essentially. Um, that's my favorite part. Yeah.
solving problems. Yeah, well, that
Yeah.
makes that makes a lot of
Sure.
sense.
And the other thing with the job is it's always changing. Like, look at the last week. Did I think I'd ever have a week like this? No.
No,
There's always something going on.
yeah.
Being adaptable is so important in what we do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so we've kind of got a little bit of a glimpse of it. You look like you're in some type of cabin right now, which is your house.
This is my garage.
Yeah. Oh, actually, that was a question I was going to ask you. Your home gym setup. We're all in this kind of state of flux right now, and we've all got some type of something. Well, Corey has nothing, but he just got down to Arizona, so we'll give him a pass. But do you have anything set up for yourself to stay, you know, keep lifting or keep fit or whatever it is during this time?
For sure. I've actually half my setups like all around the town at different places, but I've got
Yeah.
a squat rack behind me. I've got a number of dumbbells. There's med ball back there. Bench press.
Nice. That'd be
Yeah,
my favorite place.
it's not too bad. Sled.
Yeah, yeah, you got all the essentials there for sure. That's beauty.
Yeah,
Corey says thanks for the pass. Hopefully I don't get fat.
yeah,
You just
yeah.
got to
But
keep hiking, man.
I've actually got a lot more because when I coach track, I bought a whole setup of bumper plates, and I even have a set of timing gates
Oh yeah.
that I own myself. Like, who are you going to sell those to? Especially, these were like the budget models. They're called Equine Electronics. They're designed for horse timing.
Horses. Yeah, sounds like
Yeah, yeah, they work.
beauty.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So I've actually been working out more during the shutdown than usual because I've been doing online training and demoing stuff for my athletes and smaller groups. So they'll do their sets and I'll watch them and then I'll do a set. So it's been quite good.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing more. Like we have a treadmill in the basement, and to be honest, this treadmill has been pretty dormant for a pretty long time, at least from my standpoint. And I'm not
Yeah.
one to get on the treadmill at work either. Like if I've got some time and I'm gonna hop on do some exercise, it's usually lifting. But this time around, Mariko, she loves like just walking on this treadmill. So that's my 4-year-old.
Yeah.
So I'll do some minute on, minute off intervals. I'll crank it down to like a 2.5 mile an hour or whatever, and she'll hop on and walk for the rest interval. Um, yeah, it's like a volcano, right? It was dormant, now it's exploding with with activity.
Yeah.
Not
I
really,
gotta
but
confess, man, I actually hate running. If there's something to do, the last thing I'll do is go for a run. And I'll be honest, because doing track, we did so much running. Like,
yeah,
oh, it just ruined it for me. Like some people I know love running and they love the runner's high.
yeah.
Man, all I can think about it when I go for a run is like repeat 200s. And
Yeah, yeah, I'm not a huge runner either for the most part. But it's something to do, and to get Marika, she all day she was I can't remember what she was calling it. She was calling it the Trelly meal, I think. The Trelly meal. Dad, let's go on the Trelly meal. And I was like, so anyway, tomorrow we've got a date with some intervals on the
so
Trelly
what's your
meal.
go-to interval setup?
I usually do like on and off, but right now I'm doing minute on, minute off. So
Yeah.
just like 6, 7, 8 of them. And just kind of go as hard as I can ish for the minute on, and then just walk or get off and wander around the basement for the minute off.
Well, active recovery.
Yeah, exactly. That's the general idea. Um, okay, so we're talking about the weight room at home now, but what's your life like at home away from working out or weights or whatever?
Well, obviously trying to get this PhD done, which is means a lot of writing in the free times in the evenings. But if I don't have anything on the horizon or menu, like I'll be out on the quad exploring a logging road. I've got two hounds, which one's trying to get in the house in the background there.
Hmm.
Um, so taking them out, they're pretty active and pretty vocal creatures. And then if I've got holidays, like it's hunting. Like I'll try to get somewhere where I don't have cell phone reception. Texade Island's a little piece of heaven. Uh, so I'll be up there camping and just hunting from there. Usually bring one dog with me. So
Nice.
yeah, got some holidays in May where we'll go up to the North Island. Hopefully, Jer, if we both are under quarantine for 2 weeks, we can hopefully meet up and do some bear hunting up there.
Yeah, I would hope so. So that brings me, when I was talking to Corey last night, towards the end of our conversation, we said that we needed to make sure there was some decent hunting stories told tonight. So I've been privy to a story, and it's you and Jer's bear hunting story.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can you regale us with that?
Well, the last 2 seasons, I've actually had a few run-ins with bears.
Yeah.
So I'll give you two stories. The first one is about 2 years ago in the spring. Uh, First opening day, I had it all planned out. I knew where the deer were, and I go in there and I see two deer, two bucks, and I go sneak up on them, and it's really hard to sneak up on stuff out here. And I scare them, and they go over this little crest of a hill. So I creep up over this crest of the hill, and I look over the crest, and there's these two bucks sitting there. So I pull up my gun and I shoot one, and I'm sitting there. It's like, okay, well, should I shoot this other one? And I'm on a bike at this time, where I shouldn't be, and like, there's no way I can get two deer out of here in time. So I get up, and this is where I made my mistake, and I start walking towards the deer I just shot, and it turns out it wasn't dead. It popped up again and bolted. So now I got to find this deer, and I'm tracking it, and the trail goes cold, and I'm looking for about 2 hours, and I'm like, okay, well, I got to find this deer quick. So I go get one of my hounds and bring it in there, and we're looking for this deer, and Tika starts acting a little funny, and I'm like, this is odd. Maybe she like smells it somewhere. Well, next thing I know, I have a big bear in the tree. Tika's at the base of the tree, just going crazy, and I got to get her on a leash. So I got to get up to the base of the tree, put Tika on leash, slowly back up away from this bear, and I'm okay. I'm gonna try to give it some space, and sure enough, this bear comes down from the tree, and rather than running away, it starts coming towards us.
Hmm.
So I'm sitting there and trying to be calm. I'm shitting my pants, and I'm like, "Go away, bear, bear, go away, bear, go away." And the language starts to get a lot stronger into
Hmm.
some four-letter words, and I'm yelling at it, and finally it gets to the point where I have to let a round go just past its head just to scare it off, and it runs off. So I get back to looking for this deer, and I'm searching for it. And then probably another hour goes by, and I hear some rustling, like literally probably about 5 meters to my left. And I look over, and this little bear cub pokes its head out. And I'm like, all right, I've just made dinner for the bears. I'm getting out of here. So I took off, and the next day, I went back to the same spot and sit up on a ridge across from where I was. And I look over, and this bear, the big bear, is lying there on this ridge with a big belly. And I'm like, that POS. And so, anyways, I got a
Definitely got
picture
your
on.
deer.
Yeah, I got a picture. Maybe I'll post it after through my scope of this bear just lying there,
Just digesting the your hunt.
digesting my hunt.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the first bear story I have, and then the other one was Jared Shepard and I we're up on the north of Vancouver Island, and the first day of bear hunting, we went up there to fish originally, and we're checking the game cams, and we're about to turn back to camp, and Jared actually spots a bear up the logging road, and we're like, okay, well, let's get it. And it kind of goes, down in the bushes. And so I'm like, okay, Jer, you go that way and see if you can get a shot on this bear. I'm going to get on the quad, go up the logging road and try to cut around the back just so if it bolts that way, I'll get a shot on it. So I'm up there and, I don't see anything. I don't hear anything. Only thing I did was scare a couple elk. And about an hour goes by and I go back down and Jared's, kind of sitting there from where we originally parked. And I was like, oh, that's odd. And it turns out like the bear had come at him and he had let off a shot and I hadn't heard it because the wind was picking up at this time. So I'm like, well, where's this bear? And he's like, well, it's still up the logging road. And sure enough, the bear was still up the logging road. So I'm like, well, let's go get this bear. So we creep up and the bear goes down into the bushes again, and then it pops up a tree, and I'm kind of staring at it level. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, that's something I'll take. And so I shot it, and it falls out of the tree. And just to be clear, like we actually eat these bears. You'll see there's no furs or anything on my walls. This is for food purposes. Anyway, so the bear drops down in the bushes and I start creeping down through the bushes to, assess the situation after some time. And Jared was looking for another way to come down to where I am. And all I hear is, Dana, bear. And I'm yelling at him because the wind's picking up even more. I'm like, Jared, where's the bear? He's like, by the big tree. I'm like, I'm by the big tree. And then it turns out there was a second bear in the bushes with me, a live bear. So finally we're yelling across this wind, kind of barely, and I find out there's a second bear by the big tree in the bushes with me. So I have to kind of back my way up the hill, and I get to the logging road, and we're up there and we're kind of making a plan of attack. And so the plan of attack was, we'll go back to camp where two of our fishing buddies are. We'll get them to come help us. One of the guys will put on the road with a shotgun just to watch over us as we pull this bear out of the bushes up a hill. And we get back to camp and a storm had come through. So the way it was set up is this lake runs perpendicular to the west coast. So all the wind from the west coast just comes funneling down this lake, and it hit our camp. I never found my frying pan because it blew somewhere into the bushes. My one buddy had just packed up his whole camp and drove home. And our other buddy was sitting in his truck just smoking darts. So anyways, we come with, okay, we're going to pack up our whole campsite. We'll head back to where this bear was, and our third friend's going to stand on the road with a shotgun, watch over us. One thing I forgot to mention is in this whole process, I managed to flip my quad on a washed out logging road, and it was spewing gas everywhere. So that was a bit of an adventure as well, getting that upright. And so, yeah, it took us 4.5 hours, I think, 4 hours to get this bear 40 meters up the side of this hill to the logging road, and then it took us another 4 hours to get the 400 meters to the back of the truck. And to get it out, two people sat in the truck, and I had to sit on the tailgate because the truck was so full, holding the bear in, preventing it from falling out as we bounced down the logging roads.
Wow.
Yeah. Other funny bit was we thought we heard another bear in the bushes. And so we went to go let a round off from the shotgun. And the shotgun was so full of mud that the action didn't work. So even if like a bear had come at us, we would have been screwed. So
Oh, well.
yeah, that's how it goes sometimes.
So there we go. That's
Yeah.
our bear story. We knew we were going to get one.
Hey, you got two.
Yeah, two stories in one for the
Yeah.
price of one. Adam Douglas asked another hunting question. He asked, "What's the biggest thing you've hunted and taken down?"
A bear.
Yeah, I guess we preempted
I'm
that
not
one
sure
a
if he's
little
referring to a bear, but or hunting animals, but yeah.
bit. Maybe not. Who knows? We're going to talk to Adam on Friday night here on this little venture.
You can ask him the
So
same question.
yeah, I might. Anybody else that's listening right now? There's a few people there. Um, any questions for Dana or for us while we're here? While we're waiting for questions to come up, Dana, you showed me what you were drinking. You're drinking some Moosehead. I doubt that's your favorite drink. Could be wrong.
Not, yeah.
Yeah. What
Gin
would
and
your
tonic, actually.
gin and tonic?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
What kind of gin?
Oh, that's a good question.
Hmm.
So my favorite gin ever is Martin Miller. And Gaba's pretty good as well.
Yeah.
So that's a Canadian gin. It's actually like a yellow color because it's made with Labrador tea. I heard I see Corey's calling me out for not having a beer, so it's because I've been talking too much, Corey.
Yeah, your throat's probably dry by now.
Yeah.
Well, I've had my beer. I'm almost done this bad boy. That's how much I've been, talking, taking it in, listening to Dana.
What's your favorite?
My go-to beer for sure is various IPAs,
Yeah.
West Coast IPAs, like hazy IPAs, that kind of stuff. A decent amount of hops, but not crazy.
Mm,
And then if I very rarely drink anything other than beer, but if I do, mine's gin too.
yeah. Yeah.
So I'll
What's your
do
favorite?
like usually a Bombay Sapphire,
Yeah.
and I'll just fill up a glass with ice, pour a shot in or something like that, and some lemon, like a squeeze of lemon or lemon juice. That's usually the way that I'll do it. But that's like I'll have a bottle of gin for like 2 years in my
See,
house.
I'm the same way actually with G&Ts. Like I know that typically people go lime. I think lemon's the way to go. A little bit of lemon juice.
Yeah, I use the real lemon. That's
Yeah.
usually where I go with it.
Yeah. If you like G&Ts, a French 75 is a great drink as well.
Okay, Fringe 75
French 75. So it's a little
French.
bit of like simple sugar, lemon, gin, topped off with champagne.
All right. I
Yeah.
like. Yeah, I don't mind. That sounds good. I'll have to check that out for sure.
Apparently, it was one of Ernest Hemingway's favorite drinks, and it's called a French 75 because it was, I guess, in the First World War, the French had a gun called a 75 howitzer, and the line was, "It hits you like a French 75."
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
So yeah, it's
Sweet.
good.
All right,
Um,
Dana. Well, yeah, we've been on for a while now. Do you have any questions for me while you've got me on the camera?
on camera. Well, I think we chat all day, essentially.
Yeah, basically.
Basically, what's here's one for you. I'm curious about what's the big projects you're working on right now. This is work related, but like research wise, like what's really getting you excited with all that data you're collecting with the push band?
Well, this might be a little bit of an aside from push, but I've sort of started a project with women's gymnastics over the last 6 months with a colleague of mine now from Dalhousie University, Josh Gorham, and we're actually trying to look at using some wearable technologies, like similar to Catapult,
Yeah.
and potentially Catapult. Adam, I know you're still listening. So, in terms of monitoring training loads and training intensity for female gymnasts, specifically female, because that's the group that I work with. And the general idea is, can we get something set up that's going to characterize, high, medium, and low intensity movements, whether it's landing, whether it's spinning, flipping, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then, put together kind of a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly assessment of what's actually been done for the coaches so that they can kind of see how their programming has rolled out over a year. Were there periods of, high volume, low intensity, or was it all kind of right in the middle? Um, and also, down the road, it would be nice to start to go down the road of event detection, essentially,
Yeah.
where it'd be really, really neat to see if we can get units, and get the programming in the background that's sensitive enough to know that they're on the vault,
Yeah.
know they're on the beam or on the floor, and kind of what they're doing, so that we can give the coaches and the athletes feedback on you know how they're performing these skills. One of the big questions from the coaches that's always front of mind for them is, are we getting more amplitude off the vault? Are we
Yeah.
spinning faster on our floor passes? We're many steps away from that right now with where we are with these inertial measurement units, but
So you're
that's
really
kind
trying
of
to figure out a way to measure external load with the gymnasts,
exactly,
and that's
yeah,
a gap
because
right now.
it's absolutely a gap, like, and this wouldn't be, this is a lot of sports are like this, and any gymnastics country in the world would, if you ask them what an issue was that was hindering performance overall, athlete injuries is definitely one of them. They train a lot, they train hard, um, they're doing very dynamic, very ballistic things over and over and over again, and I just think that there's definitely some room to learn in terms of how much they're doing and what they're doing. So that's kind of where that's the thing that I'm really jacked up about right now. I thought I was done with softball in 4 months or whatever. I thought most of the hay was in the barn with
Yeah.
them, because they were supposed to be out of the Olympics. After the 2020 games, softball was not going to be in 2024, so that was kind of the end. But it looks like as of Monday or Tuesday, we got another year. So now I got to think, what's the next step?
Totally.
I feel like I've tried to push the bar for some things on the physical side, anyway.
Yeah.
And I think there's definitely room, and I think that's going to be. I'm excited to see what that's going to be. I don't know if I know what it is right now,
Totally.
but I'm pretty stoked on that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I wonder what that means. Like, a sport like softball is in such a unique situation because it's kind of like a one and done in the Olympics, at least from my understanding, like with how it's working. But like funding wise, is the funding going to be extended? How does that work with sponsorships? It's going to be interesting to see how the next few months play out, or maybe they're saving money with the shutdown, right?
I mean, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Anything I would be saying on that topic would be speculation. I mean, I'm hoping. Most of the indications we've got is that the funding will kind of continue for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, again, I think that the world's taking a big hit overall. The economy's taking a big hit in Canada, and that money has got to come from somewhere. So who knows what's going to go down depending on everything or how this all plays out.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because like I probably shouldn't talk about politics on this, but um, Donald Trump had this interesting comment. Is the cure worse than the disease when he was talking about like the COVID?
I saw that.
Uh,
Yeah.
and my initial thought was like, whoa, 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 like you're talking about money over lives. Like you can't talk about it like that. But I do wonder if there's going to be a point where like some people's livelihoods are going to be so messed up that there's going to be like an increase in, like, this is going dark here, but an increase in like suicides and um, things like that. Like how do you strike that balance? Like it's definitely not our area of expertise, but
No, but
it's just such a complex situation right now.
absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I think Trump went there also today. I don't know if you saw that. He tweeted. I don't know if you saw that. He tweeted something along those lines. So you
Yeah.
you guys are right on the same wavelength, eh?
I'm definitely not on the same wavelength with him. I'll tell you that. Yeah.
No, no, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, Dana, this